All right, everybody. Here on Antiga Shipyard, we have Mouz.BiGs, the Swiss player that we just talked about a little bit. He is on the sort of center bottom left area here on Antiga Shipyard, and it is cross only. You can see Acer.ParanOid asking there. I don't know if Biggs knows for certain, but he says, I think SPO. And Paranoid is our winning player from that last map over here on the right, top right side spawn. So yes, it is cross only. On the ladder, it's still, you know, spawn wherever, go crazy, but Symbol is the guy. Okay, now they're just having a chat. Zerg players talking about other Zerg players, I guess. How do you think this ZVZ will unfold?
Well, Paranoid showed that he's really, really good at understanding the strengths of a map, and Antiga Shipyard is one of those maps you need to have the perfect amount of strategy mixed with your standard play. You have that really, really easy third base to grab in most other matchups, but then again, this is ZVZ. You have a very, very kind of open natural after that choke point, so getting that spine crawler creep spread up to that ramp is very, very difficult until you get those creep tumors out there. So defending any type of early hatcheries is actually a bit of a pain. So we're going to have to see which of these build orders we're going to have to follow. Neither player putting down a pool just yet, so it looks like there might be a 15 pool or even a 15 hatch.
And I'm just thinking about it, this is actually the, you know, fourth game and fourth matchup that we've seen. We've had TVP, TVT, TVZ, and now ZVZ. So the only thing we're missing is PvP, I think. Or, no, PvZ also. But we could see them all. I mean,
it's true.
Everybody still has a couple of players left.
We won't be able to see PvP.
We won't be able to see PvP?
No, it's impossible. Mana? Acer doesn't have a
Acer
Protoss player.
You're right. Acer doesn't have a Protoss player, so sorry fans of PvP, that will not be occurring today, regardless.
Which is a shame, because that matchup has been shaping up rather nicely lately.
Oh man, so many PvP base races and just craziness recently. It's really hard to keep track of, like, Dark Templar winning games alone, like no probes on the map, 2 Dark Templar win a game. I believe that happened on Team Arena Challenge last week, but just crazy games. I think it was Sase. No, actually, no, it was MLG. I remember it was Sase versus Alicia. 2 DTs ended up deciding the game in a base race. But you know, PvP can end up weird, but so can ZVZ. You don't really have the same kind of base trades just because the way the buildings work a little bit different. You know, you can only build on creep except for geysers and hatcheries. But ZVZ base races don't really happen all that often.
No, not too often. But right now, I mean, we're going into a very, very standard game between the two of them. They went hatch first, each of them gas, and then pool, and then gas. So neither of them really taking huge lead. Now, Biggs did pop up 5 food supply ahead. Nope, I'm sorry. Now they've actually evened themselves back up, waiting for that larva inject. So, yeah, we're just kind of hanging out, just kind of doing the same thing between the two players. Nothing, even only a couple seconds discrepancy between both of their builds.
Yeah, there was a time where TVT, just every single game, the builds would be mirrored like 6 minutes into the game. Like,
I saw a ZVZ, I casted a ZVZ, where literally for the first 15 minutes, there were no engagements, perfectly mirrored builds. It was one of the weirdest games I've ever seen.
That's really interesting, but we do have a little bit of divergence here now. Biggs going for that Baneling Nest, and you know, that's going to set him a little tiny bit on supply, as Paranoid is just going drone, 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 drone. And actually, wow, Biggs is putting down a spine crawler. It looks like he's going to be playing a little bit more defensively. Doesn't want to get caught without enough units while that Baneling Nest is getting built. And, of course, Paranoid is building a Baneling Nest. So did Paranoid actually scout that? I don't think he has an Overlord right over the base. Now he is moving up the left side there. So he didn't scout it. He just had to, you know, do his own build kind of blind. But I'm sure he's played enough ZVZs where he, you know, notes the timings of the hatch and all that stuff. So he should be good to go. A couple of links coming from Paranoid to check out Biggs' front. And that spine crawler did a good job just deflecting them, making sure they didn't even try to run in.
And you know what's really great? You were talking about timings before, and Paranoid's Overlord is now just getting scooted off by Biggs' Queen. But he was getting a really great look at the saturation at the natural. And that's one of those things you have to keep in mind. You're looking at your own natural and the timings that you should see of how many drones should be out there, of whether or not your opponent's amassing a lot of armies somewhere else. So seeing that fully saturated natural at that time, he's saying, all right, my opponent's not making too much. I'm pretty fine. I don't even need to throw down a spine crawler. But as I say that, a couple links do make their way into the natural and then into the main base. The Queen's desperately trying to kill those with their extended range. But he's going to get a full scout off on his opponent, Paranoid.
Yeah, good job by Biggs, actually sneaking all the way into the main, getting a full look around, while Paranoid has been kind of shut out of any additional information. It looks like Biggs is going to be the first one to expand and take a third, but not too far behind is Paranoid. So both players still sticking pretty close to each other. Lots of banelings in production actually for Biggs already. We've got a little bit of a Ling encounter here at the natural. 4 banelings running in. He really doesn't want to waste any of those banelings on just 2 Zerglings when later they can get much more impact for them. That third base is going to be under attack now. Biggs trying to defend here with his own speedlings, does actually manage to repel it. So both players, this is where it starts to get crazy, just because of how fast all the speedlings are and how slow all the banelings are until they manage to get that upgrade. It's just really kind of hard to keep track of.
Mm-hmm. And interestingly enough, I mean, as Biggs has been spending a lot on army, and not only that, but also on technology. He's just a couple of seconds ahead in his +1 ranged upgrade, and there's a little bit of a run in on the third base by Biggs, just checking out, seeing what's going on over there. But he's spent a little bit less on his econ just to get a little bit of an edge in technology. Now, nice little baneling detonations on the group of banelings there for Biggs. The Queen picks off 1 more banelings, and nice baneling defense from Paranoid will clean up the lings around that Queen.
Yeah.
So he saves the Queen as well.
Yeah, I think Paranoid ended up a little bit positive on that trade. Another baneling from Biggs just explodes some of Paranoid's. Oh, and he cleans that up with just 2 lings. Not bad at all. So both players actually getting small exchanges, favoring each other, basically. Like, I think Paranoid ended up okay with the top exchange. Biggs ended up okay with his defensive exchange. And both players just trying to get lots of upgrades going. It looks like Paranoid's actually making the switch to Roaches. He says, I've had enough of these banelings. It's a little bit too much luck. It's a little bit too hard to control. But Roaches stand up to banelings pretty well, and he knows that, so he's going to start creating tons of them. 13 Roaches in production right now. Both players actually getting those missile attacks level 1, but Paranoid going for Burrow and Glial Reconstitution, so he's going to have some power Roaches here in the not too distant future.
Yeah, and with the Burrow, he can start regenerating health a lot easier outside of combat, or even if he's really, really cheeky, he can start doing it during combat as well. We'll have to watch how Paranoid does this. But, he doesn't strike me as a huge micro player. He loves to just kind of rely on his macro, as I saw in game number 1 of him versus Hero Marine. He just likes to go for huge amounts of macro and then kind of overwhelm his opponent. I mean, given that last TVZ style.
Yeah, I'm not sure he's going to be able to get up to 7 hatches in this game, but there's always that possibility. Pathogen Gland's actually researching for Paranoid, so basically shifting this game from, that early Ling Baneling and forcing Biggs to try and keep up. Biggs making double-digit Roaches now as well, but Biggs actually had some foresight. He started that range attack a while ago, so he's already equal on upgrades at both of them, getting +2 range attacks at this moment. But Overseer coming up for Biggs, so he's aware that Burrow is a possibility. Destructible Debris at the third actually being taken out by Paranoid. I'm not sure if he's going to be brave enough to actually move up in there, as there are a lot of Roaches streaming out for Biggs. Actually, we've got action on both sides of the screen now. Paranoid taking out a bunch of drones, and Biggs actually only working on the destructible debris up at the top. It looks like a few drones are going to go down, and a Queen is going to get taken out by Paranoid. Good pickup there for Paranoid, and he's going to meet the Roach attackers outside of his own natural. Burrow coming into play, but there is an Overseer right there for Biggs, and Biggs actually has the superior Roach numbers coming in from both sides. Now Paranoid actually looks to be in trouble up at the top. He is doing some major damage at the third, probably going to be able to take out that hatchery, but he just doesn't have the same number of forces back at home. He could lose a lot of drones here. Biggs says, you know what, have my third. I'm going to try and take out your natural and all these mining drones.
Yeah, this is some really great back and forth action between the two of them. The Roach is still just doing so much work for Biggs, but Paranoid finally being warded off here, as the rest of the reinforcements for both these players will clean up the opposing forces in their own bases. But right now, looking at the workers killed tab, Biggs is up by 26-10. Now, Paranoid did grab a lot of technology. He's got the Hydrogen, he's got the Infestation Pit, and Pathogen Gland's already done. I don't think that Biggs is at the same level in tech, but he's got he had a huge amount of army, but now he's very actually dwindling in supply.
Yeah, he got melted down, and losing that third hatch is actually a big deal because he's got a macro hatch, so he's still at 3, but Paranoid has been functioning on all 4 this whole time. So that's an extra set of larva every time that Queen can larva inject, and that's going to pay off in roach numbers. Right now, he's up by 40 supply. Their upgrades actually Paranoid sitting at 1-1 and BiGs only at 2-0. So actually, excuse me, Paranoid at 2-1 now. BiGs at 2-0, but the upgrades do favor Paranoid just because of that little bit of armor, but now he's starting to get surrounded by these lings. He's actually going to pick off a couple on the way, and a bunch of infestors starting to trickle in here. They did already have pathogen glands, so fungals on these huge roach numbers of BiGs will be expected here shortly.
Yeah, and that Spinecrawler is only a couple of hits away as well. There's other 2 roaches hitting on the third base. Just BiGs can't devote any resources to defend that, but here comes a huge lineup of roach versus roach. The fungal growth definitely swaying the tides of this battle as Paranoid seems to have no opposition. 12 more roaches in reinforcement for him, and there doesn't look like there's much else but lings coming in here for BiGs right now. The Queen's even trying to come in here to defend. 1 infestor does go down, but the rest of them are, well, at least one of more of them is still kind of out here, just regenerating their the energy while burrowed. That third base just about to go down from those 2 from before. The GG.
There's the GG from BiGs. Paranoid looking like a monster right now after those last 2 games against Mouz.